And welcome back to Comic Frontline, everybody. I'm Brant Fowler, aka the Gonzo Goose, back with you for another episode of Brant's Weekly Comic Rankings, the series where each week I rank my top 15 books from lowest to highest for your viewing pleasure. So let's dive right in. This week I read 17 books, so obviously I'm just talking about my top 15. So if you'd like to hear my worst pick, you can tune into Frontline Live tonight. Now, starting at number 15, Justice League Aquaman Drowned Earth #1. I give this 3.25 stars. I'm not feeling this event. I wish I liked it more than I did. I'm not sold on the villains, and I like the stuff with Batman. I think that's the best part of the book, but the rest of the stuff, I don't know. I'm just not feeling it, and I think the strongest part so far for me was the stuff with Mara, and we didn't get a whole lot of that here. It seemed like there was very little focus on her side of it. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully I'll like it more going forward. Number 14, Sonic the Hedgehog #10. This has been a fun series, but I don't know. I'm kind of tired of this whole thing. I think they've dragged this battle with Neo Metal Sonic, whatever you want to call him, out a little too far, and I think it's time to move on from that. Number 13, Stranger Things #2. This was a fun story set inside the world of Stranger Things. It's, again, in this series we're seeing the other side, the upside down, where Will was trapped in the time period that we didn't see Will, that we were seeing the regular universe or dimension or whatever. We're getting to see what Will was seeing during that time, and I thought it was pretty cool. This issue focused on how he discovered the Christmas lights that his mom put up. So I thought it was an interesting issue. Fun. I gave it 3.5 stars. Number 12, Deathstroke Yogi Bear Special #1. I thought this was fun. You had Yogi Bear still in the picnic baskets, and Deathstroke is going after the Dastardlies, I think, and he had to fight Dink, and then something happens to Boo Boo, and it was just a fun story. It's one of those stories that you don't think would make sense, but it does. So, number 11, Nightwing Magilla Gorilla Special #1, and these are the only two of these that I read, at least as of this review, or as of this rankings videos. But this one I really enjoyed. It was an interesting take on it. Magilla Gorilla is a movie star, and he wants to do the Flying Graysons movie. So he approaches Nightwing, and my favorite part about this was it was a surprise that they tossed in Grape Ape into this one. And I thought that was a nice surprise, and I'm pretty sure he was in the Deathstroke Yogi Bear one too, just a panel cameo. But this one he was an integral part to the story, so I really appreciated that, because it was like, I want to see Grape Ape in one of these, and I got him, and it was pretty cool. So it was a fun story. These Hanna-Barbera crossovers are always fun, but it's just like, they're not typically going to make my top 5. I think the only one that did was that Super Sons Dynamite one. Alright, number 10, West Coast Avengers #3. This one fell a bit for me. The first 2 issues I absolutely loved. I think they were both in my top 5. This one, it was okay, but I don't know. I think it got caught up in the battle, in the battle with Brodok, and kind of lost some of the heart of it. I think you got bits and pieces of it. The stuff with Quentin and Gwen, I thought was interesting. But yeah, I think you lost a little bit of that, so I hope they get back to building that up a little bit. So after this Brodok art. Number 9, Man Eaters #2. I'm enjoying this new series from Image. It's an interesting story that probably gives me more information than I care to know about monthly problems for females, but it's still an interesting twist on that whole thing. I don't know, and the art is really good as well, so if you haven't checked it out, you should check it out. Don't let the cover scare you. Number 8, Injustice versus Masters of the Universe #4. Really enjoying this series as well. I think the art could be a little bit stronger in this series, but overall I'm enjoying the story. In this one, you're getting a little bit of that classic Superman, and you get to the heart of him, how he really did mean well but he just went about it the wrong way, and it's that kind of thing. And of course, you know, if you've read Injustice at all, you know what the turn was. Lois and his unborn baby were killed, and it just flipped a switch in Superman. But you get to see a little bit of the heart here, but you get a nice twist at the end with Skeletor, and Darkseid has broken into Castle Grayskull and all this stuff. It's all out war, so it's a pretty heavy issue, but solid stuff. Number 7, Spider-Force #1, just outside my top 5. I wanted to like this more than I did, but I still enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I do like Spider-Kid. I'm just not as super hyped about him as Jay is, so I'm sure this is going to be in his top 5. We'll see tonight. But I did enjoy the story. I love the frantic pace of it. I love seeing Ashley Barton in there. I don't know much about her, but I didn't remember stuff from the Old Man universe and all that stuff. So her coming in there and thinking this is a Peter Parker, which he may be. He may just be going by Charlie because that was in the orphanage or whatever. I don't know. But I like them coming together. This was a really fun issue. So hopefully it gets even stronger going forward. Number 6, speaking of the Old Man universe, Old Man Hawkeye, number 10, caught up on this series for this week. Specifically, I read 4 issues of this book this week because I'd missed issues 7 through 9, and finally got caught up and up to speed. And the battle with Moonstone was kind of eerie and creepy and weird, and then you got Bullseye coming in and wanting to take out Hawkeye and all this stuff. And I thought the lead up to this issue was probably a little bit stronger. If I had read those issues the weeks they came out, they might have had a chance to be contenders for my top 5. This one, again, right outside my top 5. So still a really solid issue, solid series, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they wrap this all up. Warning, if you don't want to be spoiled for this week's Frontline Live, save your place here and come back and watch this later because we are now entering Brant's Top 5. Alright, number 5, Extermination number 4. I'm still enjoying this event. I've enjoyed it since issue 1. I think issue 1 was my number 1 pick, or it was really up there. But I really like this issue. I think the emotional pulls of, well, X-Force dealing with, hey, you killed Cable and you're trying to claim that you're doing the right thing and you're doing right by us, and this young Cable's explanation as to why things are broken, and the stuff with Cyclops. What happens with Cyclops is just, it was intense, it was emotional, it was powerful scenery, and I really enjoyed this issue. Number 4, Nancy Drew number 5, nice wrap up to this arc. My favorite part of this was actually Joe Hardy and Bess. I love Bess. I think, you know, she's one of these unassuming characters. You don't think there's much there, and then she surprises you and kind of saves the day. And her and Joe, they built this romance, this relationship, and it's really cool to see. And not only that, but the entire camaraderie of the group, how they came together and were there for each other, even though all these conflicting personalities that you wouldn't think would work as friends, and they do, and they work it out. And then of course you get the cliffhanger ending, which hopefully will lead into another mini soon. Number 3, Faith Dreamside number 2. Always love Faith, always love her series, and I love that you delve into different genres every time you see Faith. And this time you're going into the supernatural as she and Animalia seek out Dr. Mirage's help and kind of have to go into the dead side to save her. And I thought that was interesting, and the conversations with the tourist ghosts that are stuck in the hotel was kind of funny. So yeah, I just always love Faith, and Faith is always in my top 5. Number 2, X-Men Black Emma Frost number 1. I wasn't going to read any more of these X-Men Black one-shots. I read one and I didn't care for it, and then I kept hearing, you know, the rest of the frontliners say they weren't great. But I like Emma Frost, despite I know a lot of people are not fans of Emma Frost. I've always liked Emma Frost, and so I thought I'd try this one out. And I thought this was a really good story. First of all, I love the art. I love the way the story came together. Emma Frost pleading with the X-Men for help to take down the Hellfire Club, and they demean her by making her meet them in basically a Walmart. It was called Walmart, I think, and and you know, she executes this plan to perfection, only to become the new Black King, which I thought was really interesting, the way that that whole story was structured and the way that she manipulated everyone, even though they should have known better, they still walked right into it. And that's classic Emma, and I loved it. The backup story I could do without. I don't care. I wasn't reading it, so I didn't, whatever. But that main story, it sold me enough to make it my number 2. I really enjoyed the story. So there you go. And number 1, Heroes in Crisis number 2. I know this is one of those series that's kind of polarizing. Either you love it or you hate it, but I love it. I thought this issue had a lot of great emotional beats. If you listen to the last episode of Zone 4, episode 438, Chris J and I, we talked in depth about Heroes in Crisis number 2, and we all enjoyed it quite a bit. And I'm curious to see where it's going to land on their top 5s tonight. But for me, it's my number 1 pick because of the confessionals with the DC Trinity, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and the stuff with Poison Ivy and Harley back in her costume, and Booster and Flash. There was just so much to love about this issue that here it is as my number 1 pick. So those are my rankings. I would love to hear your thoughts, or what your rankings are, and what your thoughts on my rankings are in the comments below. So please leave me a comment, or in the chat if you're watching this premiere. So I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, you can find more content from me over on my channel at Brant Fowler, and follow me on social media at Brant Fowler, and check out patreon.com/Brant Fowler for even more content from yours truly at various different levels. And I put a lot of public free content up there as well. You can find this Brant's Weekly Comic Rankings up there every week as well. And everything Last Ember Press, lastemberpress.com, at Last Ember Press across social media, and zone4podcast.com, at zone4podcast across social media. Tune in tonight for Comic Frontline Live, or just Frontline Live, sorry, for a brand new episode of that, as we all talk about our top 5, and I go more in depth about some of these books that I've discussed today, and you'll get to hear my worst pick again. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of Brant's Weekly Comic Rankings. Bye.